The country club was polished, expensive, and quiet in the way rich rooms always are, as if even the air had been trained to not make mistakes. I found my table near the edge of the reception hall. I smiled at the white flowers. I reached for the name card beside my plate. And then my entire body went cold. It did not say sister of the groom. It did not say family. It said, poor, uneducated sister living off her brother. For a second, I thought I had read it wrong. Then the laughter started, not from strangers who were confused, but from people who had clearly been waiting for me to see it. The bride's family covered their mouths, leaned into each other, and laughed like my humiliation was part of the entertainment. I looked across the room at my little brother, and all I could think was, not today. I would not ruin his wedding. I would swallow the shame, place the card down, and leave quietly. Before I could take one step, he caught my hand. He stood so fast his chair scraped the floor. He looked straight at his future father-in-law. His voice was calm, but it cut through the whole room. You just made the most expensive mistake of your life. The music stopped. The laughter stopped. Every person who had laughed suddenly looked like they had forgotten how to breathe. I could feel the place card pressing against my fingers, that ugly sentence sitting there in black ink, like proof that cruelty had been planned, printed, approved, and placed carefully beside my plate. This was not a mistake. Mistakes do not come in matching calligraphy. This is the full story of what happened next.
My name is Maya Bennett. I am 36 years old. I did not come to that wedding looking for praise. I did not come expecting speeches about the years I worked until my feet went numb, or the nights I came home too tired had gone toward my brother's future. I came because the boy I helped raise was becoming a husband, and for one day I wanted to feel proud without having to defend why I belonged. Our parents died when Marcus was 11 and I was 17. There was no extended family who stepped forward. There was no safety net. There was only me, a teenage girl who decided that losing our parents did not mean he had to lose everything else. I worked 2 jobs through high school. I packed his lunches before sunrise. I told him I had already eaten when there was only enough food for one of us. I filled out financial aid forms at midnight. I sat beside him at the kitchen table while he did homework and pretended I was not exhausted. When he got accepted into a summer program and cried because he thought we could not afford the bus fare, I sold our mother's bracelet and told him I had misplaced it. I did not want him to know what his chance had cost. I did not go to college. I planned to, but I told myself I would go later. Later came and went, and eventually I stopped counting the years I had traded for his. I am not telling you this for sympathy. I am telling you this so you understand what was sitting at that table with me, what that place card was really saying and to whom.
Across the room, the bride's father slowly stood up. I had not known his name when I walked in. He had only been the wealthy man smiling in photographs, the man whose daughter my brother loved, the man everyone seemed nervous to impress. But now every eye in that country club turned toward him, as if he owned not just the room, but the right to decide what counted as disrespect. He adjusted his jacket. He gave a small laugh. "Sit down," he said to my brother. "You are embarrassing yourself." My brother did not move. "Explain the card." The man glanced at it before, which was impossible. It was a planned seating. "It was a joke," he said, "a light joke. Your sister looks old enough to handle one." A few people shifted, but nobody spoke. That was the moment I understood something painful. Some people had laughed because they thought it was funny, others had laughed because they were afraid not to, and the rest had stayed quiet because silence is the easiest costume for cowardice. I kept my voice steady. If it was just a joke, why was I the punchline? His smile thinned. "Because people like you take everything personally." My brother's hand tightened around mine, but I did not let him step forward, not yet. The man looked at my brother and said, "You should be very careful tonight. A young man in your position should understand the value of good connections." He nodded toward the chandeliers, the flowers, the expensive room, as if all of it was evidence in a trial only he had the power to judge.
He said, "You have been welcomed into a family that can open doors you never would have reached alone." I heard the insult clearly. So did my brother. I said he reached every door because he worked for it. The man looked at me with open amusement. "And you helped, I'm sure. Everyone has a sad story, but sacrifice does not make someone educated. It does not make someone refined. It certainly does not make someone equal." A quiet gasp came from somewhere near the head table. My face burned, but I refused to look down. I thought about the years I had worked while other people slept. I thought about filling out financial aid forms at midnight. I thought about selling my mother's bracelet. I thought about saying I had already eaten for one of us. I said, "I never came here asking to be equal to your money. I came here as family." He leaned closer. "Family is not a word you use to force your way into rooms you do not belong in." My brother finally let go of my hand and stepped beside me. His voice was quiet, but every table heard it. "She belongs anywhere I stand." The man's expression changed, not much, but enough. The joke was over. The punishment was beginning. He pulled out his phone and said, "Maybe we should revisit a few arrangements before this marriage becomes legally complicated." Then he looked at my brother and continued, "Job offers can be reconsidered. Grants can be delayed. Promises can be paused. You may think pride is free, but you are about to learn it has a price." My brother stared at him and said, "Thank you." The man blinked. "For what?" In front of witnesses.
For the first time that night, the bride's father stopped smiling. The room had changed. It was no longer a room laughing at a poor sister. It was a room watching a powerful man reveal that his kindness had always been conditional, and his generosity had always come with a leash. Until that moment, the bride had stood frozen near the head table, pale beneath the soft glow of the reception lights. She looked less like a woman enjoying her wedding, and more like someone watching the floor crack open between the life she had been promised and the truth standing in front of her. Her father turned toward her with a warning in his eyes, the kind of look that tells a child to remember who pays for everything. "Stay out of this," he said. But she did not stay out of it. She walked toward my brother first, not her father, and that small choice changed the whole room. "About the card?" my brother asked her. His voice broke just enough for me to hear the pain beneath the anger. She shook her head quickly. "No, I swear I didn't." Then she looked at me. "I am so sorry." I wanted to believe her. I did, but shame has a way of making every apology sound late. Her father laughed under his breath. "Do not apologize for people who are looking for offense." She turned on him. That was not offense. That was humiliation. Her mother rushed forward, smiling tightly at the guests, as if a smile could cover a wound this deep. "Sweetheart, not here. There are people watching." The bride looked around the room, and for the first time, I think she really saw what kind of people were watching. She raised her chin and said, "Good, let them watch." Her father's face hardened. He lifted his phone and made no effort to hide the call this time. When someone answered,
"Daniel,
"I need you to call Harrington and Vale tonight. Tell them our hotel rebrand is under review if they continue with the new hire from the Bennett family." My brother went still. The bride grabbed her father's arm. "What are you doing?" He covered the phone. "Teaching consequences." Then he returned to the call. "Also, contact the foundation office. The mobile skills program connected to Maya Bennett should be paused until further notice. I will not have my name attached to people who create public scenes for sympathy." For a moment, I could not breathe. The job offer was one thing, cruel but aimed at my brother. The grant was different. For 2 years, I had been trying to build a mobile community program for teenagers who needed resume help, interview practice, GED support, and basic digital skills. Kids who were smart but unseen. Kids whose parents worked no one to explain how to write a cover letter without feeling ashamed of their clothes. Kids like my brother had once been. He had found the one thing in my life that still felt bigger than survival, and he was trying to crush it because I had embarrassed him by existing. My brother moved so fast, 2 of his friends had to catch him.
I stepped in front of him. No. He looked at me like I had betrayed him. I lowered my voice. Do not let him turn your love into his evidence. That stopped him. I knew exactly what the bride's father wanted. He wanted one shove, one threat, one ugly moment he could point to later and say, see, this is what kind of family they are.
The wedding continued after that, but only in the way a broken clock still shows a number. People clapped at the wrong moments. The cake was cut. The music restarted. Toasts were given by people who avoided saying anything true. I stood near his bride's hands while both of them looked like they had aged 10 years and 1 hour. Deep inside, I knew the man who had walked out was not finished. Men like him do not leave because they are defeated. They leave because they want privacy for the next attack. My phone rang before the sun had fully risen. My brother's name lit up the screen. When I answered, he did not say hello. He just said, he did it. His voice was rough, like he had spent the whole night trying not to break something. The offer? Gone. Harrington and Vale sent an email at 6:20. They said they'd decided to move in another direction. My brother had built that portfolio piece by piece, working part-time, studying late, teaching himself software on an old laptop that overheated if he opened too many tabs. That offer had not been charity. It had been earned. And there's more, he said. I opened my email while he stayed on the line. A message from the foundation. Empty, polished language. My application for the Second Chance Skills Van had been postponed pending further review. I stared at those words until they blurred. Pending further review meant buried. It meant someone had called. It meant a man with too much money had decided that teenagers who needed help writing resumes should pay for his wounded pride.
The wedding continued after that, but only in the way a broken clock still shows a number. People clapped at the wrong moments, the cake was cut, the music restarted, toasts were given by people who avoided saying anything true. I stood near the back and watched my brother hold his bride's hands while both of them looked like they had aged 10 years in 1 hour. Deep inside, I knew the man who had walked out was not finished. Men like him do not leave because they are defeated. They leave because they want privacy for the next attack. My phone rang before the sun had fully risen. My brother's name lit up the screen. When I answered, he did not say hello. He just said, he did it. His voice was rough, like he'd spent the whole night trying not to break something. The offer? Gone. Harrington and Vale sent an email at 6:20. They said they decided to move in another direction. My brother had built that portfolio piece by piece, working part-time, studying late, teaching himself software on an old laptop that overheated if he opened too many tabs. That offer had not been charity. It had been earned. And there's more, he said. I opened my email while he stayed on the line. A message from the foundation. Polished language. Empty regret for the Second Chance Skills Van had been postponed pending further review. I stared at those words until they glowed. Pending further review meant buried. It meant someone had called. It meant a man with too much money had decided that teenagers who needed help writing resumes should pay for his wounded pride.
Before I tell you what was on that bride's phone and what recordings she had kept, if stories like this mean something to you, hit subscribe right now. It is free. New story every week. Now let me show you what she brought to my kitchen table. The meeting was set for the following Saturday at the Ashford Estate in Westchester. Calling it a house felt dishonest. It was a gated property with stone pillars, black iron fencing, and windows so tall they looked less like openings and more like warnings. Everything about the place said wealth. Nothing about it said home. As we drove through the gate he had at the wedding, this time I squeezed his first. Her father waited in a formal sitting room with his wife and a family attorney. He did not stand when we entered. Men like him used chairs like thrones. Let's be efficient, he said. I sat across from him. We are here because your daughter asked for one private conversation before this becomes public. You can admit what you did, stop interfering with his job, restore the foundation review, and apologize, or you can keep pretending cruelty is leadership.
He smiled. You people always need a speech. My brother finally spoke. You people. The man shrugged. People who confuse struggle with character. People who believe surviving hardship entitles them to respect. I kept my eyes on him. Respect is not something poverty cancels, came the moment I had not expected. He looked at me and said calmly, I am prepared to offer you a generous amount of money if you remove yourself from their marriage. Quietly, permanently. My brother looked like he might explode. The bride looked like something inside of her had finally died. I placed my phone on the coffee table. I pressed play. His voice from the voice memo. Then the clip. Then the recording from that very room, his own voice offering me money to disappear. His face drained. His wife covered her mouth. He stepped toward me. You have no idea what you are doing. I stood. No, you have no idea what the truth can do when people stop being afraid of it.
I did not post it with rage. That mattered. No dramatic music, no exaggeration, no insults. I posted the place card, the wedding planner email, the voice memo,
I had not expected. He looked at me and said calmly, I am prepared to offer you a generous amount of money if you remove yourself from their marriage. Quietly, permanently. My brother looked like he might explode. The bride looked like something inside of her had finally died. I placed my phone on the coffee table. I pressed play. His voice from the voice memo. Then the clip. Then the recording from that very room, his own voice offering me money to disappear. His face drained. His wife covered her mouth. He stepped toward me. You have no idea what you are doing. I stood. No, you have no idea what the truth can do when people stop being afraid of it.
I did not post it with rage. That mattered. No dramatic music, no exaggeration, no insults. I posted the place card, the wedding planner email, the voice memo, with a statement so simple no one could twist it. I wrote that I had attended my brother's wedding as the sister who raised him, that I had been publicly humiliated, that when given a private chance to apologize, he had offered me money to disappear. I also wrote that this was not about revenge for a ruined wedding. It was about what happens when powerful people believe the lives of working people are disposable. By noon, the story had crossed Reddit. By evening, it was on TikTok and Instagram. Teachers wrote about students who needed programs like mine. Nurses wrote about working double shifts for family. Older sisters, older brothers, grandparents, foster parents. People from every corner of the country told stories of raising someone quietly and being treated like their sacrifice did not count. One woman wrote, I raised my brother too. No one ever saved me a seat. A man wrote, my sister gave up everything for me. I am calling her tonight. Harrington and Vale offered my brother the position back. He thanked them, then declined. Somewhere that did not need public shame to remember integrity. The foundation restored my grant review. Within 1 week, the Second Chance Skills Van received more donations than I had raised in 2 years. Strangers sent $20, $5, sometimes just a message saying, someone did this for me once. The Skills Van opened at the end of the summer. On the first day, 17 teenagers showed up. What Rachel tried to destroy became bigger than anything I could have built alone. And every time I watched a kid walk out standing a little taller, I thought about the man who had tried to bury this because he thought hurting me would prove his power. 3 months after the wedding, Rachel came to my apartment alone. No driver, no assistant, no smile. He said, I was wrong. I looked at him. You thought money could buy silence, loyalty, and forgiveness. It cannot buy character. It cannot buy family, and it cannot buy respect. That your love comes with conditions. His eyes lowered. He looked smaller than his own shadow. I closed the door gently, not because I was weak, but because I was free. Money can buy attention. It can buy comfort. It can even buy fear for a while. But it can never buy the one thing Richard lost forever. The respect of the daughter who finally saw him clearly. If Maya's story stayed with you today, drop your city below. I want to see how far this reached. And if you know someone who gave everything quietly and never got a seat at the table, share this with them. Subscribe for a new story every week.
The next two are on your screen right now.